people who have a strong faith in God are people who have knowledge of God and who he is.
We see in Christianity this disconnection, a disconnecting faith from reason, faith from fact, faith from critical thinking, faith from logic, and then it plays itself out in other ways, like so faith and science. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you heard in your church a really good sermon or message or series that took faith and helped you see how it interacts with science? Right? I mean, people are thinking right now, like, never. We never talk about science within the church, except maybe a couple of PhDs who write a couple books that no Christians, like normal Christians, actually ever read. So, I mean, those are just a few things off the top of my mind. We are so anti-intellectual. Our sermons do not require us to think critically often. Right? They're and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm making a really small size here with my fingers. They're this deep. Our sermons are so shallow. So anyway, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of evidence out there, and what we find is that goes against the scriptures.
Yeah, and I actually, as you're talking, I'm thinking it goes against experience as well, because people who have a strong faith in God are people who have knowledge of God and who he is. And just like in any relationship, the more you know about a person, the closer you are, or further away if you know bad things about them. But you know what I mean, that the knowledge that we have of each other, is deep, and that's what roots our marriage, and our connection.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about, for me, some of the older women in my life who I just look up to and admire, and men too, men and women.
You look up to some men too? That's good.
I do, a few. No, I'm just kidding. But they're people who I look up to in the faith are people who, like some of these older women, I'm thinking, these women know the scriptures. They have taken seriously the study of God's word, and faith isn't just what oftentimes is described as a blind thing. Faith is connected to trust, and it's connected to their knowledge of God and how much they have thought about and worked and reasoned and done all that it takes to really understand the scriptures and to understand, not completely, but more fully, God and who he is.
Yeah, and what you're saying is that their knowledge is not just incidental to their deep faith. Their knowledge is tightly connected. It undergirds their deep faith and their deep experience of God. And one of the analogies I've used when we'll talk about this to try to help people make that connection, because often we don't. It's not natural for us right now in the church to make the connection between knowledge and faith. But I'll use you and me as an example, and I will say this to an audience I'm speaking to. I'll say, look, if you came and asked me, hey, tell me about your wife, Brett. And I said, okay, yeah, my wife, Erin, she's 5'6". She has sandy blonde hair and she has 2 eyeballs, and then audiences will laugh. And if you would think I was joking, but then, and you might come with a follow-up question. No. Tell me about your wife. Like, what do you know about your wife? Like, I want to hear about, who she is. And if I said, well, that's all I know, like those 3 things, what conclusion would you draw about our relationship? Yeah, you would conclude that it's not very deep, that there's not a whole lot of substance to it. And so that analogy helps us to see and reconnect knowledge with relationship.